All right. Good to see everybody. Back at it here. What we got?
Mike, what have you seen from the Lions on tape so far?
They're a really good football team, hard playing, well coached, a lot of scheme diversity, but also hang their hat on their calling cards, so to speak. On special teams, a hard playing group. Again, it's this theme throughout all three phases. Obviously, they're really aggressive in certain situations and willing to take calculated risks. So we'll need to be ready for those. And on offense, the gap scheme married with the wide zone, play action passes, drop back game on time. Goff's playing fast, making fast decisions, getting the ball out of his hands to his playmakers. Both runners are really dangerous in their own way. Offensive line is probably one of the best in the league, if not the best. So got to work it out for us, but we get an extra day to get ready to go. Defensively, very aggressive. Seems like they made a little bit more of a shift from last year. I'd say there's a tough simplicity with compliments on how they operate defensively, and obviously Aiden is a really good player that we're gonna have to account for. But they're a really good team. Our guys are excited and looking forward to getting to work. We just had a great walkthrough, so getting ready to go to work here in about an hour or so.
What's the challenge you've yet to see in your first 3 games that Detroit presents, something maybe different?
I haven't really thought about it in that lens. Each week is a new challenge. Everyone's got really great players that you have to mitigate. They have strengths and weaknesses, just like anybody else. That as a coaching staff, that we're trying to put our guys in position to make plays. I don't know if it's anything like. I mean, it's just unique to the Lions on how they operate. So. We'll operate accordingly.
When you look at their offense, is it the pass game that drives the offense? Is it the run game? Does it depend game to game? How do you evaluate and see that?
Well, I don't think they're like stubborn to the point where they're just going to do one thing to bang their head against the wall. Both run and pass. They're very efficient. But I would say it starts with the run game with this team, set up play action pass. The drop back game is consistent for the quarterback. It's clean, and they build it different ways. They do a good job of hiding the looks and keeping it consistent at the same time. So I would say would start with the run game.
You saw them execute a hook and ladder in this last game. Can you talk about 3 weeks in, the importance of creating tendencies and breaking those tendencies?
Well, they do a great job of having some curveballs in some critical situations on fourth downs and high leverage spots throughout the game. So credit to them. In order to do those things, you need to, 1, come up with the ideas. You need to, 2, you need to practice it at a high level so you have confidence in calling it. And it seems like they have they're opportune when they call it and get those things done. So I thought that was a pretty sweet play.
You mentioned their run to set up the play action. As a defensive coordinator, there's sort of this debate in the analytics community, like how much it really matters, how much you run the ball to set up.
Once I said that, I knew that was coming.
Well, I just was curious in general. I just maybe think it's the general topic.
That's okay.
But yeah, I mean, as a defensive coordinator, do you sense that like they're running the ball well, that's going to make their play action better, or are teams just like good at executing play action?
I don't know what the right answer is, frankly. You do have to be able to move people and run the game and run the ball to kind of assert your physicality in a football game. This game is still about the line of scrimmage to a very high extent, but you also need to move the ball down the field in order to have success and put points on the board. So both can be true, I think. And then based off of how teams operate, some teams are hunting single high to make the play action pass come alive a little better. Some people have certain routes against certain looks, split safety, man. There's different indicators that teams utilize, if they want to go that route. So I think it's a little bit more. I think both are true, and then it depends on how you want to operate as an offense and get really good at those types of things, and then it's really a function of how well you can execute those things. But play action, I mean, the numbers don't, the numbers are there for a reason. It's an effective way to get the ball down the field. both for play action pass or for protection purposes, and just length of target, things like that, separating the defense.
You played Detroit last year with Baltimore. What did you feel like you guys did exceptionally well that day on the defensive side?
Yeah, the history here going to Detroit, and it's you don't want to get in this game of playing what used to be, because the games are so unique. The people involved are completely different. The systems are similar, but at the end of the day, there's certain plays that you need to make. There's some critical early down stops that we had when we were in Baltimore, and then we were able to get off the field on third down early in the game. And then offensively, which is a completely different system, they were having success early in the game, and the game kind of got out of hand early. And so the game kind of declared itself, and then here we go. Now we got to kind of play the game as we find it in the second and third quarter. So we're definitely not anticipating anything along those lines. Our guys know that we're in for a 60-minute battle, just like maybe even longer.
Assuming you want to get better across the board, but are there specific areas that you really want to focus on in terms of improvement when you look at the stats over the first 3 weeks?
We talked about it as a team this morning about emphasis of the week, and we didn't ask everybody, but the consistent feedback is our consistent focus on the fundamentals and our execution on the details. Now that goes across all three phases. I think it's a mentality that you have to have throughout the week to put the work in, execute those things. It's how we prepare as coaches and the situations that we put our players in. So if we anticipate those situations correctly, we can give the guys the correct looks. So now you might have some redundancy when the game hits. So we take a lot of pride in trying to create those situations for our guys, and then it's our guys' responsibility. We go out to the practice field, just finishing walkthrough, having the mentality, okay, I'm recognizing the situation, now I can apply my rule, now I can play faster.
You mentioned you can't, look too much at past games because everything changes, but can players who have had success in a hostile environment, like whether it's Gino going to Detroit or Stone last year having to play against Aiden, can those individual things help a guy going back?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a mentality that you have to have going in, understanding the environment that you're going into, how we practice it in the practice, and throughout the week. But absolutely, you can draw upon that experience, and we expect those guys to do so and kind of send the message forth to everybody else.
What do you anticipate Zach's success, particularly in the fourth quarter, would help him going forward in the run game?
Talking about Zach Charbonnet? I just think it's his style. You don't judge a run game by the first 5 runs of the game. Everyone goes back and say, well, how many, what was the yards per carry? They look at the stats, and we're focusing on finishing games and closing them out. And Zach does a great job of doing that based off his physicality. I think it speaks to the shape that he's in and his mental toughness that he has as well. So he should be an asset for us later in games.
Lions like to run a lot of man coverage. Man coverage down across the league. Any thoughts about why that's the case?
I don't want to speculate into their brains. I think it's a little more situational than people might think on why they're getting into man in certain situations based off of prior plays and how they match with their personnel groups. But yeah, I don't know if I can speculate on why they decide to do that.
Your run defense, what's the key to getting consistent second level support?
Having the right eyes. You got to look at the right stuff. If your guy's running a pass, you can't be in the second level support. If your guy's blocking, you can go.
Not just something you're doing the weekend.
You got to look at the right stuff. You got to know what you're looking at and why, and then that'll play faster.
Tyus Bowser got dozen snaps for you last week, getting back into things from his injuries and such. What have you kind of seen from him as he's kind of got back into the mix with you guys?
Yeah, he should be proud of himself. It's been a long journey coming back, getting his body ready to play. He's worked tremendously hard. He's in great shape. I'd say it's a solid first start. I know there's things that he said he's going to want to improve on, and we expect him to do so. And he'll get plenty of opportunities this week to do it in practice, and then we'll see later on in the week and if he, what happens later on in the week.
How's Stone
Do you anticipate having Byron Murphy and Leonard on the practice field this week?
I'm going to wait on the injury stuff until we are forced to tell you. I mean, I think we got to let you know tomorrow. And the reason is, Mike, is just because I don't want to speculate right now, and we'll know more. It'll be clear tomorrow, and if it's clear tomorrow, then I'll let you know.
So all injuries right now? I mean, just so we don't ask about Ken or whatever. Ask about Ken Walker. Or anything.
Yeah, let's just leave it like that.
Myles Adams has to play. Can you talk a little bit about what he brings to the table?
Yeah, Myles has been working really. I mean, it's been a little bit of a numbers thing on why he hasn't been up. It's nothing that he hasn't been doing in practice or anything like that. He's coming off an injury late in camp. So, but he's a guy that's had a tremendous offseason, and if his number's called, to be ready to go. Again, he gives you some different position flexibility inside. I think he can play like B gap and out, which will help us with where we're at. And looking forward to seeing him practice today. It's been a really today and tomorrow, see how he does.
The ability for a cornerback to kind of show up in a game a lot of times has to do with just if he's getting targeted. But when you go look at the tape of Riq Woolen the last couple games, even if the ball's not coming his way, what do you see in rep after rep?
A consistency. It speaks to, we were talking about earlier, the mental focus that you need to have on per play basis, especially at corner. But I think he's playing patient, he's playing square. He understands his leverage, and that speaks to his preparation. And he deserves a lot of credit for that. Nobody else is responsible for that but him. And he's doing a great job. And again, we're 3 weeks in, and I know Riq understands the challenge moving forward, but he's playing at a high level right now.
How is Stone Forsythe handled right tackle?
Well, I think the film kind of speaks for itself. You know, we talked about how it started out in Denver, and then I think since then you've just seen a steady improvement. And if we can get that from our whole football team, you know, we're cooking. So he's right there. He's worked tremendously hard, but I think he's improved tremendously, and we got a lot of confidence in him.
As you evaluate the competition between Anthony Bradford and Christian Haynes, what does one of them need to do to separate themselves in that?
Well, I think it's just going to be consistency and performance. Right now, it's our criteria is practice, and then once we get into the game, we'll kind of judge it accordingly how the games are going. Again, you know, I mean, you guys have asked this in the past. It's it's not ideal to be juggling a position, and we understand that. But right now, it's probably best for those guys to compete throughout the week and into games.
You mentioned Kobe Bryant had sort of earned playing time. What specifically had he done to kind of show you that and to kind of get his way back on the field?
Well, doing the right things over and over again. It's kind of like being. I tell the guys it's like being when you played baseball. Like I was a good fielder. Sometimes I couldn't hit, and so I wasn't in the lineup. It's like, you want to play, Mike? You better hit the ball. You know, so go out there and make plays, and do it consistently, and then they can't leave you out of the lineup. So. That's just how it works. And you stack enough of those in a row, then obviously it becomes undeniable, and then we gotta make room.
You were asked the other day about challenges of being a head coach. Is that one of them? There's only so many plays. You can only have so many guys active on game day. It's just finding ways to reward the guys who maybe deserve the playing time.
I like doing that. I like rewarding guys that are doing a great job.
It's hard to find enough of those opportunities, I guess.
I haven't thought of it as a challenge. It's I think if you shoot the guys straight on where they're at and why their role is the way it is, they appreciate that. And then it's fun to like give guys more opportunity. You know, we want to create enough depth where if we are stressed at a certain position, like you can't wait for the next guy to get like I can't wait to see you play it after you had like that's the feeling we want to generate around here. It's not like, oh shoot, so and so's got to play. You know, I couldn't wait for Kobe to go out there and dime and see what he did. Like that was cool.
You guys brought Mac Otel back on the practice squad. Can you talk about the opportunity in front of him?
Yeah, he looks good. Gives us some depth at D-line, and haven't seen him practice in a minute, so we'll see how he looks in practice today. Looking forward to seeing him going out there. There's a guy. Looking forward to seeing Matt play. There you go.
Mike, in your defense, in addition to consistency, what qualities do you need from your strong safety?
Well, we don't really. I mean, I guess sometimes it ends up with guys are doing that. We don't classify them in the two different. Like they just play safety. Yeah, so versatility for sure. You know, you get pigeonholed doing some stuff, and then the offenses will pick up on that, and they should take advantage every week, bro. It's right here. We didn't finish enough to like meet you right in the corner. Talking to DK. Yeah. But, yeah, versatility. Communication is at a premium. There's a lot of things that move in front of them, so they're going to have to anticipate those things, make sure we're all on the same page. So seeing the game clearly with anticipation, confidence, knowing the calls, I think that's really important.
And you had Jason Peters in for a visit. Is there anything that might happen with that, or?
Yeah, well, it would be on practice squad. We had a great experience with him last year from everyone that was here. So we'll see what happens next week or so.
Did you become a better hitter?
At one point, I was a pretty good hitter, and then I wasn't. And now I'm here coaching.
Anything else? Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.